How intertwined have the fates of these two teams been? Separated by one trophy, having shared 60% of the titles in this competition's history, separated as things stand by 1 point as we head into what already looks like such a long business end of this IPL 2023 campaign. On Visit Saudi presents ESPNcricinfo T20 Timeout. The Saturday doubleheader begins with an iconic fixture, Chennai Super Kings against Mumbai Indians. We've got some iconic gentlemen in the house. Tom Moody, welcome back to you after a bit of a break from this studio. Yeah. And welcome back Deep Dasgupta from quick travel from Jaipur.
Yeah, it was quick. It was a quick game as well.
But quite a surprising result, that one.
It wasn't a surprising result, but yeah, how it panned out, I guess, that game.
And Rajasthan Royals, just before we look into this, Tom, this points table and how tricky it is, you see a performance like that, which Kumar Sangakkara called embarrassing, honest enough to say that. It is that point of this season where just a couple of losses and you feel like a team which felt such a short contender for the top four, it could be slipping away.
Yeah, potentially. I think most people had them in their top four. You only have to look at their squad and the balance of their squad. It's they've got every base covered, but they've lost 4 out of the last 5. So they're on a negative slide. So we talk about momentum, and people, talk about it more so from a positive perspective as in winning momentum, which Mumbai Indians have currently got, where Rajasthan have got negative momentum. So a concern for them. And yesterday's game was a massive hit on their net run rate. So whether we like it or not, this tournament being a 10-team tournament and being so closely fought, that's going to count for a lot, that net run rate. It's going to be the difference between you falling into finals or falling out of finals.
And it's just taken a week or two for so many of the narratives to change, right? You look at a couple of weeks back, you thought Chennai, Rajasthan were teams that are coasting.
Yeah.
Mumbai Indians weren't in the mix. You feared whether they'd even make a push for playoff contention. And yet right now, as things stand, Chennai Super Kings last won a game on 23rd April. They were unfortunate in the previous one against Lucknow Super Giants, but you do have to keep looking over the shoulder, and if you go a couple of weeks without a win, that feeling, you can lose it.
I mean, I think you stated it right up at the top, longish business end. And this season's been like that. There's a lot of traffic jam right almost from the start. And now, as Tom mentioned, I mean, this is the time where you kind of either build momentum or lose it. And with Rajasthan Royals, the only concern is not just losing, but their top performers aren't performing as well. And it's been like quite a while now. This is the Sanju hasn't performed in a while. Josh Patel hasn't performed in a while. Het Maya hasn't performed. So that's the concern. It's not about just losing, but in every of those losses, you see there are quite a few other concerns as well. I mean, we keep talking about processes, and that's where I think they're kind of losing it right now.
Processes tease us up well to the captain of this game. MS Dhoni did win the toss in this one. Chennai will bowl first in what is the second day game in Chepauk. There's a bit of rain around predicted later in the day. When these two teams last met, it's almost been a month, and Chennai won quite convincingly at Wankhede. But since then, you look at Mumbai, Tom, 5 wins out of 7, 2 consecutive 200-plus chases. That batting unit is firing just at the right time.
Yeah, they've, I suppose, drawn a lot of confidence from what is their strength. Everyone knew going into this tournament their strength was going to be their batting. So I think the team has gained strength from the confidence of this batting lineup, that it can nearly bully any attack out of a contest. And I think the turning point for them was Surya's return to form. Once he returned to form, it's nearly like the magic dust sort of settled over Mumbai Indians, because that's the way he is. He's got this sort of magical touch that we're all in awe of the way he plays, and I think other people gain confidence from that. So not only individually but collectively, Mumbai Indians gain a lot of confidence from his turn in form, because he came into this tournament shockingly out of form. He started it out of form, and then bang, it all turned for him. So good signs for them, but still there's holes within that Mumbai Indians team, and that's why the toss was really important for Chennai this afternoon.
And that does present the biggest challenge, you would say, for this Mumbai side. You do get that sense that they are so comfortable chasing, knowing whatever the target, even if it seems outlandish. But when you're batting first, the risk attached, there can be a risk attached to overshooting, can't there?
Exactly, and especially on a pitch like this, because Chepauk usually has been a low-scoring venue, but this year it's a different story, and you suddenly don't know what a pass score is. Again, this being an afternoon game, and generally afternoon games have been even lower in terms of scores. So it's a tricky one, and with Mumbai, because the difference between their bowling and their batting is so big, it's like their batting which is carrying the team right now, and so that poses a big challenge in itself.
The one thing that I think of, and I'm putting my coach's hat on here, and it's a really good point you make there, Deep, but the one thing that whether it be Boucher or Fleming will be saying, particularly batting first, is just play what's in front of you.
Yeah.
It's very much an important thing that you just play what is in front of you. In other words, just play the next ball. Don't sort of anticipate this is a 200 wicket or a 180 wicket, or we got to get 210 because these guys bat, unbelievably well. Whatever the case, play what's in front of you, because you don't know what's in front of you until it's presented. It may stay in the wicket and be a slow wicket. It might be an absolute belter. It may turn. It may not turn. Just concentrate on what's in front of you, which is basically another word of saying just concentrate on the process of us getting to a competitive score. So what's part of that process? Well, partnerships are part of that process. Running hard between the wickets is part of that process. Getting set at the crease is part of that process. Attacking the early phase of an over is part of that process. So all those things will come into play. Two very experienced coaches, two very experienced teams.
And while one of them have gone without any changes in Chennai Super Kings, Mumbai Indians have made a couple of changes. That batting mix is going to see a few different names, because Tilak Varma is not featuring in this game. Tristan Stubbs, who's only featured once so far this season, gets a game. You don't see. There is also Kumar Karthik here, who is on the impact bench, and there will be on the impact bench you see a debutant in Raghav Goel. We don't know yet, Deep, what the reason is. That you have to assume it has to be some sort of
because he's not there in that impact list either, so it has to
must be ill.
Yeah, but Tristan Stubbs walking into this lineup, how do you view that?
Interesting. I mean, listen, he's in good form. If you look at his T20 numbers last 6-8 months, he's been pretty good. He's played a lot of T20 franchise cricket all around the world. Obviously, I mean, someone that MI has invested in, him and Brevis. And listen, I mean, he's a good batter. There's no two ways about it. But losing Tilak Varma is a huge blow. I mean, he's one of the main players. He's one of the most consistent players since last year. And yeah, definitely a big miss. And I'm just thinking, left-handers. There aren't too many left-handers either in that middle order. So, I mean, that kind of can get into, can be part of the equation, because they have a few spinners there to bowl through those middle overs.
How do you see Tristan Stubbs' inclusion, Tom?
I find it an interesting one. It's disappointing to see that Tilak Verma is obviously ill or injured or whatever the case might be. He's certainly not going to be dropped, because he's been a key player. But he's a power pack player. He's another Tim David style cricketer that can hit the ball out of the ground. But it's going to be hard for him to hit the ground running,
right?
Given that he hasn't played a game yet this season. All he's done is prep in the net. So a tough game to be starting his IPL in 2023 against Chennai in Chennai.
And I'm just thinking that would make, I guess, Rohit's job a little more important, I guess. Because you mentioned Stubbs, Tim David, with Tilak Varma there, there are runs, there is a lot of maturity, he knows how to handle different situations and conditions. But suddenly Stubbs, I believe, would be his first game this season or maybe his second. So I guess that's where Rohit's job, I guess, and maybe, do you reckon batting first would help Rohit to kind of settle down, not take initial, chances or risks?
Yeah, possibly. I think ideally Rohit would like to be chasing, because their whole team balance and their strategy is based around, you just set us whatever it is, and we back ourselves to chase that down. So there's no question he would have preferred to chase. Yeah. The only thing I will say is, regardless of the weather, if that intervenes, that's a no-brainer. You want to be batting second. But what I will say is, and you'll know as well as anyone, it's extremely hot and humid in Chennai. So, you've got 11 players out there fielding first, which is going to be Chennai, and it's going to be quite draining and exhausting for all those players. And a lot of people think, it's only 120 balls, they can manage that, but it actually smashes you, doesn't it? It really does drain you.
Yeah.
And then you've got to go out and bat. And I know you're not all going out to bat together, but that there is an impact in that.
When they do set up to bowl Chennai, in the reverse fixture, Ravindra Jadeja played a dominant hand at Wankhede, no less, 3 for 20, didn't have any trouble, left-handers or right-handers. And you've noticed a bowling resurgence for Jadeja, especially after the kind of 2022 he had. What have you noticed, Deep? What has he changed? What's he fixed?
I wouldn't say fixed, but it's just that I think one is confidence. Secondly, I think he's wearing his pace really well. He's not looking to fire it in. In the previous years, it was kind of one-dimensional with him. Every time he would get hit, he'll come in and bowl quicker and quicker. But now I think he's that way more matured. He's varying his pace a lot better. And I think he's trusting himself as a bowler. Earlier on, it was more like, just come and dart it in. But now I think he's trusting his abilities as a proper left-arm finger spinner.
I think the other important thing to note is I think last year his campaign was derailed through the late surprise to us all that suddenly he was going to captain. And then that was then taken from him, midway through the tournament. I think that that pressure and that pressure expectation around captaincy really sort of had an influence on his confidence and just the momentum of his game as a whole. So I think we've seen the best of Jadeja now, which we've seen in previous years. This guy's a superstar.
Yeah.
Anyone would welcome him into your T20 side, 50-over side or Test side.
Yeah.
He's an absolute gun. But what he's doing now full of confidence. He's got a clear head. He doesn't have that sort of hangover of worrying about captaincy or the pressures of that. He's just going out and playing the game that he loves.
How much does it help Jadeja, the bowler, that this is one of those setups which will not overemphasize on matchups? It's quite easy. We've seen it so often that captains don't want to bowl a slow left-armer to left-handers, and yet Ravindra Jadeja, you look at this season, 6 out of his 14 wickets left-handers.
That's got to do with the captain. Simple as that. MS Dhoni doesn't sort of look at matchups. He just backs his players. And I think at times, I think a lot of captains, a lot of strategists, a lot of analysts get a little bit caught up with the whole matchup presentations that are given. I think it's really important you take note of those things and you do implement them from time to time, but they're not gospel. It doesn't mean that it's absolutely paramount that you've got to go down that route. I think at times you've got to back your instincts and just back the player. You look at Moeen Ali, how many right-handers has he bowled to? You look at Jadeja, how many left-handers he's bowled to? Dhoni does it Dhoni's way, and he has that aura about him where the players feel like, one, they belong, and two, they're important, and he's 100% backing them.
So Jadeja, the bowler, having one of his best seasons, at least in recent years. Jadeja, the batter, not so much, and it's part of what can be viewed as a larger problem, so to say, with CSK, that you haven't got a lot of runs from Ambati Rayudu, Moeen Ali and Ravindra Jadeja. We'll bring up the numbers in just a bit. The quantum of runs may not be an issue when you have a performing top order, but those strike rates are concerning for 5 to 7.
I won't be too bothered, to be honest. I mean, Rayudu, yes. I mean, listen, he came in, he hasn't really done much, to be honest. But with Jadeja, they haven't really used him, Jadeja the batter. I mean, he comes into bat at maybe at 6, 7, at times hasn't batted at all. Moeen Ali comes and plays those impactful innings. That's fine, because I don't think they'll be too bothered about it, because they have other guys firing. You have you have Gaikwad firing, you had Conway firing, you have, oh my God, you got Dubey firing. So I guess won't be too bothered. And I'm a little surprised at times they haven't really used Jadeja the batter. At times I thought he could have come earlier to bat. But yeah, again, it's MS and one of those few captains still in modern day cricket who goes by his gut. If he thinks that something's going to work or something will not work, he goes with it more often than not, and which is actually brilliant. I like that kind of captaincy, and that's what he does, and it's been successful over the years. So,
the last home game they played, which was also a day game where Punjab chased down that 200, You did hear MS Dhoni say after the game that perhaps we missed a few runs. Now, one of the things about Jadeja, and he had those shining years through 2020 and 21 as that finisher coming in, have you felt this season that perhaps he's not able to get the boundaries right away the way he used to coming in those death overs?
I think if you look back historically, his entry point would have been earlier than what it has been this season. I think his entry point to his batting opportunities have been later in the innings, and that has a huge bearing on exactly your point. I think Jadeja, like probably, I'm throwing a number here, but 85% of players need a handful of balls to get set and just get some sort of rhythm to the game, and then they can find the boundary. There's very few players can walk out and just bang the ball for six, and you see purely on their price tag why they're so highly sought after, because they are so valuable. You know, look at Jetesh from Punjab, for instance. Brilliant. You know, the way he can just walk out there and go pop, pop, pop. You know, nothing better than that. You know, if you've got a player like that, particularly if you've got an Indian player like that. You know, it's all well and good having a Tim David, but you know, he's one of your overseas players. So I sympathise for Jadeja in that situation, because he is, like most people, he needs just a handful of balls to get set.
Raidu's form a concern though?
I think, to be honest with you, I don't think it is a concern, purely on the basis that he is like the extra player that they're carrying. You know, he is he's the beneficiary of this impact player. And you know that Raidu's going to come out. I was only just having a chat, you know, just socially downstairs with a couple of guys, and to me, he's the type of player that today will probably go out and get 35 or 15, and you know, we'll all think, oh, okay, well, you know, it's worth being patient with that experience and that quality, and he's got all those things.
And if you look at CSK, they haven't really used all of their resources. I mean, they haven't. I mean, haven't been asked to use it. So it's not that, you know, Raidu's off form or lack of runs is costing them anything at all. And talking about Jadeja, the other thing, I guess, because of Dubey batting as well as he is, I think his usefulness as a batter in that setup has kind of come down a little bit. Had Dubey not been as successful, then maybe we would have seen Jadeja batting higher up the order, and
also to add to that, and we would have seen more of Dhoni as well. You know, because Dhoni hasn't had to bat any more than a handful of balls because of the success of the openers and also Dubey.
Yeah, so Dhoni's numbers, the other day I was looking at it, he's batted 21 balls, hit 7 sixes, and his strike rate is 257.
That's the currency you want to work with, and they're sort of, you know, dealing in $100 bills.
Move over Rahul Tewatia. And just to back that point that you mentioned about CSK, I think it's only 18 players used so far, and that you have to say only because this is a team that suffered so many injuries at the start, and still that number is 18, which is why we won't use any time to show you the Chennai 11. It is the same. You can expect everything to fit just the same. But I think it's worth going back to that Mumbai lineup, because the bowling attack will obviously face the unique challenge of having to defend now. It is as good as their recent turn in results has been. This is a bowling lineup which has conceded 200 plus in each of their last 4 outings. How do you view that bowling lineup, Akash? I know Akash Madwal bowled a good last over, but you see Jofra Archer not been at his best. You remove Piyush Chawla and there are questions.
Yeah, I mean, for me, I think Jofra Archer, what kind of mood he's in. I mean, even last game, there are a couple of deliveries you saw the actual Jofra Archer ball zipping past, but then there was only 1 ball in an over, 2 ball maximum. The other 4s were like, and slow. When was the last time I saw Jofra Archer bowling slow? Was at 110, 115. So I don't know, man. It's just boils down to whether he's up for it or not. And if you've got Jofra, the real Jofra, you got PC and Arshad's done all right. So it's not that bad. But Jofra is one guy. I mean, I don't know. I mean, it can be quite temperamental, isn't it?
Yeah, look, you made a point earlier, which I 100% agree with about Jofra Archer. He's got to bowl over 1 and 3. Simple as that. He needs to get into the game for Mumbai Indians early, and he has to have that impact. You know, he, when fully fit and firing, he's the most threatening new ball bowler in the world. And, you know, in the power play, the golden rule is taking wickets. And you know, forget the amount of runs you go for. That's not relevant. What's relevant is the wicket column. If you can take 3 or minimum 2 in that power play, you're a long way ahead of the game. So he needs to not be held back and bowl the 5th over, which he has been so far. Give him responsibility, give him the ownership. You've got first over and you're going to back it up with the 3rd over.
More so this game, because you're looking at Devon Conway and Rituraj Gaikwad. So
you need to break that.
Exactly, you need to get into that middle order as soon as possible.
And there's a new name on that bowling. If you look at the impact subs, among the bowling options, there's Kumar Kartikeya, who's played the last few games. Raghav Goel is a slow left armer, 22-year-old, who hasn't featured yet this season. You'd have thought, Tom, there could have been a temptation of a Hrithik Shawkeen in the mix, given the number of left-handers.
Yeah, well, you saw me giving it this one, I think. I was saying, where's the off-spinner, Shawkeen? Because he's actually bowled okay, and he's been left out for the last couple of games. And you'd think, particularly the way that Chennai is set up with their left-handers, that it would be an ideal sort of different point to Chawla, who's going to be really critical to their slow bowling campaign, well, not campaign, but their slow bowling performance. And Shawkeen I would have thought would be the automatic one that would come into the side.
I wonder if he's fit or not, because he's not there in that impact sub list either. No. So I wonder whether he's fit enough.
So what is the option then? Kartikeya Kumar is someone who can bowl the left-arm wrist spinners, the left-hander. So is that the route?
Maybe they're looking at him. I don't think they'll go in for a left-arm finger spinner. But yeah, I mean, Kartikeya, he bowls his left-arm wrist.
Yeah.
To left-handers, he does that. But only thing is, his left-arm wrist is very slow as compared to his finger. So finger, he bowls around that late 80s with the wrist. He goes around early 80s and all. I think a couple of games ago, he was bowling wrist spin to a left-hander. He kind of got hit for a few.
Right. So it is Mumbai batting first at Chepauk. Let's get predictions in. Tom?
Well, I think it appears to be a good surface. Mumbai's strength, I think we're going over 200. I'm going to say 207.
Okay, I'm going to go 191.
All right, so we're aiming high. We're looking at high scores again, which would be a good change from yesterday at Jaipur, where it was tough to call the pitch, tougher to call the scores. And Chennai Super Kings, this is the first of 3 home games they play in a row. Would have counted for a lot in any other season, but this is the season where teams apparently don't win at home, evidently don't win at home. You look at those fixtures, Deep, 2 games against Delhi out of the last 4. That's favourable at this stage of the season, without meaning any offence, just because their campaign is over.
I mean, yes, and those 3 games at home, I mean, you know, when you go to Chepauk, you have that aura. You know, as an away team, you're going into their fortress. Even though the pitch has behaved differently, I don't know what the reason being, I have no idea. But you still, as an away team, you know that you're in somebody else's territory.
Well, it's a little bit like the English Premier League, isn't it?
Yeah.
You know, teams playing away from home, even though they're a superior team, but they find it difficult to break that fortress. And I think out of any venue in the country, when it comes to the IPL, Chennai has that similar sort of intimidating coliseum. So if you're a visiting side, you feel like you're playing against 13, not 11.
True. And because everything's yellow, you walk in, you see pictures of all the players and stuff like that.
It's just the noise too.
Yeah.
It's intimidating. You know, it's that noise. So every moment that's in favour of Chennai, it escalates, and everything that suddenly is against you, you know about it. So it's like a force that keeps coming at you.
I'll tell you what's interesting though. The one team that has historically managed to breach this fortress is Mumbai Indians. Won their last 6 at Chepauk, although it has been a while. 2019 would have been the last time these teams met at Chepauk. Mumbai, in fact, beat Chennai twice at Chepauk, including a playoff encounter that year. Can they repeat it? Will they manage to trump CSK and do something that hasn't happened in a long time? Chennai losing 3 games at home. They have lost 2 so far. Well, we'll be back at halftime to see how at least the first half of that bid from Mumbai goes. Be sure to follow the action on the ESPNcricinfo mobile app, which you can download via the App Store and the Play Store. Back at the break with Tom Moody and Deep Dasgupta. We'll see how their predictions fare. We'll see how Mumbai's batting effort fares on Visit Saudi presents ESPNcricinfo T20 Timeout.